I was a 22-year-old student at a local university, and I thought my life was perfect. My family was everything to me. My dad, a respected accountant, and my mom, a caring school teacher. To me, they were the picture of stability and devotion, a relationship that made me believe in happily ever afters. I admired their love, often thinking it was the kind of relationship that others would envy. I thought their love was unbreakable. But, as I would soon learn, perfection is an illusion. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly, in the weeks leading up to my final exams. At first, it was small things. Dad coming home a little later from work, the odd half-smile that Mom would give when talking about him. I didn't think much of it at first. Stress, maybe, or the usual ebb and flow of life. I was so caught up in my studies that I didn't want to entertain anything else. But over time, I began to notice things I couldn't ignore. One evening, I came home early from a study session and overheard a phone call. I stood frozen by the kitchen door, hearing my dad's voice, low and soft, speaking to someone with an intimacy I'd never heard before. The tone was warm, almost loving. At first, I thought he was talking to Mom, but the words that followed stopped me cold. "I can't wait to see you again. I miss you so much." My heart skipped a beat. Dad, the man who had always been the embodiment of devotion to my mother, was speaking like this to someone else? A cold shiver ran down my spine. I couldn't tell who it was, but I knew deep down it wasn't just a friendly conversation. I didn't know what to do. I left the house quietly, not wanting him to know I had overheard. My mind was racing, trying to justify it. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe it was a colleague or an old friend. But the feeling in my gut wouldn't go away. It told me something was wrong. Days passed, and the unease only grew. I couldn't focus on my exams, and the silence between my parents became louder, more noticeable. I found myself retreating inward, trying to escape the unsettling thoughts swirling in my mind. And then, one evening, I decided I needed to know for sure. After dinner, I followed Dad, watching as he left the house under the guise of a late work meeting. My heart pounded in my chest as I trailed behind him, keeping my distance. He drove to a small apartment building across town, and I parked a few blocks away, waiting, the nausea building in my stomach. It didn't take long. I saw him standing at the door of the apartment, greeting a woman with a smile that was anything but professional. She was tall, with long dark hair, and laughed easily. Her voice carried to me even from a distance. She kissed him on the cheek before they disappeared inside together. That moment, the truth, hit me like a tidal wave. My father, my strong, dependable, loving father, was having an affair. He was cheating on my mother. The foundation of everything I had ever believed about love and family crumbled in that instant. I sat in my car for what felt like hours, staring at the building, trying to make sense of it all. How could this happen? How could Dad betray Mom like this? My anger and heartbreak overwhelmed me. I thought of all the years I had spent believing in their perfect marriage, the holidays, the family dinners, the photos on the wall. All of it seemed like a lie now. But what hurt more than the betrayal itself was the thought of what Mom would go through if she found out. She had always been so devoted to him. How could I tell her? How could I destroy everything she held dear? The internal struggle was suffocating. I couldn't keep this secret from her, but telling her would shatter everything. She'd be devastated. Yet, I knew it would be wrong to let the lie continue. That Sunday afternoon, while Mom and Dad were quietly sitting together in the living room, I couldn't take it any longer. I had to confront him. My heart raced as I sat beside him, gathering the courage to speak. "Dad," I began, my voice trembling. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." His face shifted, concern flickering across it. "What is it, Clara?" "I know," I whispered, "about the woman." The room went still, as though time had frozen. Dad's face drained of color, and he stared at me, wide-eyed, for a long moment. Finally, he sighed and looked away, his guilt written all over him. "I didn't want you to find out this way," he said quietly. "But I guess it was only a matter of time." The words hit me like a physical blow. I'd suspected the truth, but hearing it from his lips was something else entirely. His confession crushed me, but at least I no longer had to carry the weight of uncertainty. He told me about the affair, how it started innocently but became something much more complicated. He expressed regret, but all I could focus on was how this would destroy Mom. And that evening I told her that my father had been cheating on her,